Hey, what's up, everybody? Brotrio here, and 2021 is a very special year because our favorite video game franchise turns 35. The Legend of Zelda is a franchise that has been around for 35 years, and we are in love with the entirety of it. We love Zelda, and we could talk about it for a year, so that's what we're gonna do. We are coming out with one Zelda video every month, whether that be a top 10, whether it be a rant and rave, hype train, what have you, we're going to talk about it. We love Zelda, we have a lot of ideas for this, and we are open to new ideas. We haven't planned out through December yet, so if you have ideas for a good Zelda video, let us know in the comments. We may use it, because we love talking about Zelda. We're looking for fresh ideas. We have Breath of the Wild 2 coming out hopefully this year, maybe.
Oh, please.
At least some news about it.
Yeah.
Hopefully it comes out this year. But that being said, we're launching off with top 10 Zelda bosses. Now, there are no final bosses, so no Ganons in this list whatsoever. Phantom Ganon from Ocarina of Time almost made it, but fully Ganon clean on this list. So no Ganon, no final bosses, no
Majora, no Vati, no
nothing.
Demise.
So only dungeon bosses for the most part. There's a mid-boss on here, and you probably already know who it is, but we'll let you find out later when that comes in the list. So let's get started with number 1, 10.
Just leave that.
Goma is truly a classic Zelda boss. It's a giant spider with a giant eyeball. That's terrifying. And it has appeared in several games. We're going to narrow it down a little and go with the one from Wind Waker because it's the biggest. And it's in the middle of a volcano, so it's also kind of the scariest.
And also has a thick coat of armor.
Yes, very much.
That allows it to swim in lava and might be a centipede. Unclear.
Yeah. You have to take that grappling hook, grab that dragon's tail, and yank that rock down on its head to get that armor off. You have to do that a couple of times. It's really cool that it shows battle damage. I love seeing like the cracks form
and
as you're going.
That cool like lava rock glow in the cracks too.
Such a cool looking boss. And then you finally get that armor off, and he's naked, but he's still scary looking. And then you hook him in the eye, bring him to you, and just go to town on his face. Goma is usually one of the first bosses, and we think she did a great job in Wind Waker.
At the beginning of the video, Daniel shouted out that there's one mini-boss on this list. The main reason he made it is because he overshadows the final boss of the dungeon he is in with both a better fight and a more iconic status. We have Dark Link from Ocarina of Time's Water Temple. Let me set the stage for you for the three of you that are watching this that haven't played Ocarina of Time. You walk in a room. It's just full of water and a tree. It's real weird and very serene, but you can tell something's off, you just don't know what. At some point, if memory serves, your shadow disappears, and you turn around,
at the tree,
look at the tree, your shadow's chilling over there, like Peter Pan's, separated from you, but you ain't got Wendy and a needle. You gotta kick the shit out of your own shadow to get it back. That's where the fight with Dark Link comes in. You can cheese him if you want with the Megaton Hammer. Not as fun, but it's
funny though.
It's funny, but it is not as fun. The real way, in my opinion, to fight Dark Link is have a sword duel with him. And he does cool anime stuff, like he stands on your sword and kicks you in the face, if I remember right. When you hit him enough, he falls into the pool and rises up in another spot. Having a legitimate sword duel in a Zelda game doesn't sound like it should be that out of left field, but it kind of is.
It really is.
There's not a whole lot of sword fights with humanoid enemies in the Zelda games. The only other one I can think of is the Yiga clan members. That is... I could go on and on about Dark Link, but the main reason he made it is he gave us one of the best fights in the game while technically being a mini-boss, and he was cool enough to overshadow the boss in his own dungeon. And also, I'm pretty sure he's only appeared twice, and that is how it needs to stay. We don't need Dark Link in every game. That would ruin it. Ocarina of Time did Dark Link perfectly. That is why he made the list over What is Tentacruel's name in Water Temple? No one knows. It doesn't matter. Dark Link's better.
One of the best aspects of the Zelda franchise is that the bosses don't have to be the most difficult to be the most fun. And the Georg pair is an example of this. It's not the most difficult fight, but it's not easy. And you're just hopping between these two Sky Manta Rays, charging up the Force Sword, making clones, and slicing eyeballs. It's awesome. The Georg pair is really interesting because it's the final dungeon in the game. Not the final dungeon, but the last dungeon in the cycle. And you get the rock cape, and you put it to full use in this boss fight. Because you're jumping from Manta Ray to Manta Ray. You have the Force Sword now, so you can charge up and make little after images of yourself on the clone, or on the clone spots. And you have to match your clones with the red Manta Ray's eyeball placement. So you have to keep that in mind. You slice them once, and it's fun. And then you hop on the blue one, and he flies around. He swings his tail at you. You got to jump over it, and then you got to slice his eyeballs. Then you jump back onto the red one. Now the blue one's pissed, and he's shooting energy balls at you. Yeah. And if these energy balls hit you or your clones, they go bye-bye. So you got to keep that in mind. So you not only have to dodge them, you have to watch 3 links and dodge all of these energy balls to slice the eyeballs. And then it's not over yet, because the red one is now pissed, as he should be. You're slicing his eyeballs. And when you hop on the blue one, he's shooting out green little baby manta rays at you. So now you have to dodge those while dodging the blue one's tail, while slicing his eyeballs, and then jump back onto the red one, make some clones, slice some more eyeballs, dodge some balls.
And babies.
And it's a lot to take in. It's one of the best examples of how a boss fight can just ramp up in difficulty. It's from stage to stage fun. You're jumping all over the place, and it's by far the best boss fight in Minish Cap.
Girohim is kind of an oddball, because he only shows up in one game, but he is there the entire game. He starts off at the beginning, he teaches you some sword tricks. Really, he teaches you how to fight through the whole game. I'm assuming it's because he wants a good fight out of you later, and that's why he doesn't just straight up murder you right away. But through the whole game, he's teaching you stuff, then you fight him for real. And it is a awesome thematic, like, huge battle, because first you have to go through this corkscrew full of moblins. It's like Hyrule Warriors level amount of moblins and bokoblins and whatever else.
Yeah, they're blowing horns, they're coming at you hard. Link don't give a shit, he's slicing through all of them.
Link is pissed. And then you finally start fighting him. And this final battle is pretty intense. You're up on like magic platforms, just dueling. You have to get him to the edge, knock him off, jump down. You can stab him in the chest, and then he gets up, and you just keep going, and it ramps up in difficulty each time. And then you get to the bottom, and it's just an all-out battle.
Yeah, you get to the bottom, and he pulls out his sword, and then you hit him in the chest enough times, and then he ditches that sword and gets a fucking huge sword.
Oh, yeah, that sword is great.
You gotta chop that thing to bits, or he'll just heal it back up.
And I was stuck on that phase for a long time, because if you're not fast enough, he'll just keep going and fix his sword. You have to chip his sword away and hit him behind it, because he's using his sword as a shield, and you just have to keep chipping it away until you finally take him out.
This next boss is from Majora's Mask, and if you've ever played that game, you already know who it is. It is Goat, or Got, whatever it is, G-O-H-T, the terror of Termina, freezing up all the land, making all those poor little Gorons shiver. You gotta fight him as Goron in this Diddy Kong Racing style race, where you dodge his lasers and his bombs, and you're just chugging along as Goron. You build up your speed, bust out your magic spikes, and you just gotta basically run his ass off the road.
There's ramps. You're going real fast. Spikes everywhere. You're the wheel. It's weird. Zelda's never had a boss like fight like that before or since.
Well, yeah, it's a robot laser goat.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's super fast paced and it's super fun, and you have to do it a lot. So they knew to put the best boss in the best spot that you have to beat to make spring come, because anytime you reset, that winter is back, and you gotta roll over goat every time. And I loved it. I would go do it even if I didn't need it to be springtime, because it is that much fun of a boss fight.
One aspect of a story that I really love is a good old-fashioned grudge. And we've got that in spades with the Helmesor King from Wind Waker. Link hates this bird. This bird stole his sister. It's responsible for all of his troubles. He has to be awake now. Boy loves sleeping.
He
Bird
does.
stole his sister, put him through hell, threw him across the ocean. Finally, went on your second visit to the Forsaken Fortress. You can do something about it. You free your sister and all the girls in captivity. Tetra helps you, and you hear the cry. The bird's flying overhead. I don't remember exactly what Tetra says, but it's basically along the lines of, you've got to go finish this. And Link's like, yeah, it's time to cook this turkey. Starts marching up the stairs while the room is flooding, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, room's flooding.
And Helmesor King is like pecking in to peck at you.
Breaking the ramps that you're climbing up. There's bokoblins on the way. You don't have time for the bokoblins because there's a big bird and a lot of water coming up. You gotta go. Finally reach the top. Bird's ready to kill you too. He's done with you. He's done with your shit. It's time to beat this bird. You gotta hit him in the mask. When he pecks down, he gets stuck. Whack him in the mask with the, what's it called? Skull hammer. Until his mask breaks. And then it's sword time, baby. You get to chop this stupid bird in the face until it's dead. Flies up in the air and he kerplodes. Feathers raining down along with a heart piece. But the main reason he made it to me was because of the grudge. I love a grudge match. I love when characters despise each other and you can tell. Link really wanted this bird dead, and that bird was no big fan of his either.
Earlier when we were talking about Goat, Scotty mentioned that there has never been a boss similar, and there hasn't, but one that comes damn close, and in my opinion surpasses Goat because of his two phases, is Star-Lord, the Twilight Fossil.
Oh,
because
man.
Cool title.
Yeah.
Badass title.
Badass design too. It's a big old skeleton bull demon thing with a magical sword possessed sticking in his head.
And it's like a necromancer or something because he can summon them dead soldiers.
Oh, yeah.
We don't know what the hell Star-Lord was in life because he's in the prison, so odds are he's something not too good. But Star-Lord in death is a great boss fight because not only does he start out and you're on his little spinner track and he's like shooting fire at you and like swiping at you with his claws. And
that spinner part is so fun.
You gotta ride through his horde of undead he summons and bust up his spine. And then you do, and his whole skeleton kerplodes. But his head stays because he is hard-headed. He's got a magical sword to keep pushing him along. And then he like raises up the platform you're on. All the sand he had his goons in goes away. And it's Spinner City, baby. So you just gotta spin on the walls the whole time, and he is flying around and shooting fireballs at you, so you gotta jump, bounce, wall to wall, bouncing the whole time, and it is one of the most fast-paced and fun boss fights of the Zelda franchise, to the point where you gotta do like Goat, and you gotta off-road this bastard by slamming into the side of his head with your spinner. It is so satisfying, one of the best boss fights ever, and it is by far the best thing to ever come out of Twilight Princess. I love that boss fight so much.
A Link to the Past had some really good boss fights, but we narrowed it down, and the best one in that game and in all of the 2D games, in our opinion, is the Helmesor King. Not to be confused with the Helmesor King. This is totally different. It's like
one's a bird, one's a dino.
Yeah, it's like a giant dinosaur turtle type thing. I don't know.
He's this big old salamander with the mask on.
Yeah, like he's stomping around, just making all kinds of a ruckus.
Whipping its tail
Yeah,
at
he's
you.
got that spiked tail coming after you. And similar to Goma from Wind Waker, you have to chip away at his armor before you can even hurt it.
Yeah, arrows bounce off of it.
Yeah.
Your sword clanks away from it.
Yeah,
Nothing can hit him.
You can't do anything until you pull out that hammer.
Or bombs.
Oh yeah, or bombs. And just chip away at that mask until it breaks off, and then it gets pissed.
Mm-hmm.
And you gotta hurry up and kill it before it kills you. And then he comes back in A Link Between Worlds, and now he's like...
He's encrusted in rupees all
Okay,
over
I couldn't
the
remember
place.
if he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, they changed his name even. They call him Rupee Badoopy now.
Well, it's not Rupee Badoopy, but
You don't know that.
that's true. I don't know what his name is, but yeah, that one is pretty much the same fight, but you get a hell of a reward for killing him because he just explodes into rupees, and it is just fantastic.
We are moving on to my favorite boss in Zelda history, excluding final bosses. We are talking about the gruesome twosome of the Spirit Temple, Ganon's Mommy's Twin Rova. Now, first phase starts out, you get the Mirror Shield, right? Mirror Shield's always awesome. This is the first time it's been in 3D. So we get the Mirror Shield. You got Fire and Ice Witches coming at you. Fire and Ice work in the dangerous combo. You can get froze, you can get burnt. They start shooting these lasers at you, and depending on who's shooting, you have to deflect it with your Mirror Shield and aim it at the opposite sister. So if Fire's shooting it, you gotta burn Ice. Ice is shooting it, you gotta freeze the flame. It's awesome. That's not even taking into account their second form. It's rare enough that you fight two people like a dual boss in Zelda. Now, it's happened, but these two co-opt with each other better than any other dual boss had. It is rare that two bosses fuse into one, but that's exactly what we got in the second phase of the Twin Rova fight. The two sisters come together, Fire and Ice are one now. You can't reflect back, they're done with lasers, now it's Energy Blast. But what you can do, and which has never been done before or since with the Mirror Shield, is absorb the energy, hold on to it until you got 3 shots, and then blast it right back in their face and go up and chop the shit out of them, classic Zelda style. The strategy and fast-paced funness of it is why this is my favorite boss. It's not as fast as Goat, but it's faster than most bosses because you got to be on your feet about it. And
Yeah. If you're not, they're turning the platform into ice or fire, and you're either slipping or getting burnt, and they will still attack you during that, so you can still get hurt by them or their effects they put on the field. It's kind of horrifying.
Yeah, and they don't just die like most bosses. They turn into ghosts and have a little comedy routine while they're ascending to heaven somehow. But putting down Ganon's mommies is some of the most fun you can have in Zelda.
So you have to be wondering right now, what is Brotrio's #1 Zelda boss of all time? Is it Trinex of Turtle Rock? No, not really. Is it Anglerfish? Hell no.
Oh.
Is it Monk Scotia? Close, but no cigar. It is, without a doubt, because it is both mine and Aaron's all-time favorite Zelda boss, Colloctos, the Ancient Automaton. The final boss of the Ancient Sister in Colloctos is one of the best. It starts out as a normal Zelda boss that honestly would be pretty mediocre at first. He's just a boss that, one, is stationary because he's stuck in the ground. He's got 6 arms, looks cool. Golden god with
real
6
cool.
arms, throwing boomerangs at you. You gotta dodge the boomerangs, then you get close enough, and he hits at you, and his arm gets stuck in the ground. He's got these little ringlets on your arm. You gotta use that whip to whip off his arm.
Whip it good.
And you do this 2 times, and then he's also kind of smart and covers his weak spot, but he's also dumb
with like
because
his extra arms.
you do it 2 times, and then he's just like, oh, weak spot, I don't need it, I'm gonna hit him with 2 arms. And then you do that, you whip him off, you whip it good, you chop him in the weak spot. Then he gets mad, and he gets kind of smarter, because he uses his ancient, like, demon energy, whatever the hell is inside of him, to get his arms back, and then he puts them on the ground and lifts up, surprise, he's got legs, and he's coming at you with a bunch of scimitars. And it's really cool looking because he's swinging 6 scimitars at once.
And he's got them in like the cool circle.
Yeah, and also on top of that, he closes a gate in front of the weak spot.
So now it's covered up. You can't get to it. And then he attacks you. He attacks with 3 arms at one time. 3 arms, 3 massive scimitars. Bam! In the ground. And they get stuck there because there's a lot of force from this ancient automaton. So you gotta whip off the ringlets again, and then in typical Skyward Sword fashion, it is the most obvious clue to what you should do ever with the beam of light and the zoom in, but you pick up the sword, and then strategy's gone, it's big sword time. You can chop off his arms, you can chop off his legs, you chop off the cage around his weak spot, you chop off everything, and just blast his ass to oblivion with this sword. And it is the most satisfying thing ever. Because Stalfos was pretty satisfying, like chipping away at his spine and hitting him in the face. Goat was satisfying too. Twin Rova absorbing it. Nothing comes close to chopping off legs, chopping off arms,
picking up a sword twice the size of yourself.
It is,
and it's killing somebody with their own sword too.
It is the trifecta of all satisfaction coming into one. And then he also gets even smarter at this point because this weird robot has the ability to summon bokoblin zombies also, which he does, and he still attacks your ass while you're dealing with them. So you gotta kill the Boko zombies, and then dodge his 3-armed scimitar attack, whip him good again, and then get that scimitar and chop off those sweet, sweet legs and arms until you can chop his weak spot again, and then it gets to this weird thing where Zelda always gets like randomly creepy because he starts twitching and gyrating when he's dying and does this little girl laughter, and it's really unsettling and never got answered to why. But the satisfaction from that massive sword, the amazing music that is playing, and just the overall flow of this boss fight going from mediocre to all-time best is why Colloctos is at number 1. He is by far our favorite. So let us know in the comments who's your favorite. If it's not any of these, is it someone else? Like I said with Monk Maz, Kosha, and Trinex, there were a lot of contenders for this list. And a lot of like runners-up that we just couldn't quite put them on. But let us know your top 10s in the comments. Stay tuned to Brotrio for more Zelda videos in the future. Next month, we'll be doing another Zelda video, so stay tuned for that. And we'll catch y'all next time. Because we love Zelda, it's turning 35. Hyrule Warrior, nope. Breath of the Wild 2 is coming out this year. Shit.
Hyrule Warrior, yo.
You have to use your hook shot. Grab that dragon tail.
Hook.
Oh yeah, grappling hook.
Say you start it, you have to.
Yeah. You have to take that grappling.
Okay. Thought I had longer.